So whose idea was the note ban anyway? Indian Express reports that the RBI has sent a 7-page note to the Parliamentary Committee on Finance saying the government advised the central bank to consider demonetizing notes and asked the RBI to place that proposal before the board on the 7th of November. The RBI board then approved this proposal on the 8th of November before the Prime Minister made the announcement. This is what, of course, the Indian Express is reporting. For more context on this, let's go across Latha Venkatesh. Latha, so that was a very interesting conversation you had with the Dr. Reddy. But really, I mean, how do you look at this big question as to whose idea was the note ban to begin with?
Well, this letter is very important and it's a great scoop from Indian Express. The confusion as to where did the idea originate? According to the rules, it is the board of the central bank which has the right to recommend. But, we got two different versions. Prime Minister Modi was saying on November 8th and on other occasions in public rallies that the plan was 10 months in the making. Piyush Goyal said in Parliament that it was the Reserve Bank which recommended and the government took the advice. Now the Reserve Bank's 7-page note to the Parliamentary Committee of Finance sets the record straight. It says that the government had advised earlier the Reserve Bank to consider this, and on the 7th of November, it asked the Reserve Bank to put that proposal in front of the board, and then the board recommended. So it was the government's advice which the board had recommended. This was not suo moto emanating from the board, and it certainly gives away that the board had all of that day's meeting to consider this very important proposal. Simultaneously, that note also says the reasons why the government had recommended that, and that I think now is a part of what we all know, and the Prime Minister has made it amply clear in many speeches, as have the ministers: mitigating counterfeiting, terror financing and black money, tackling black money. Those were the three reasons. And the note goes on to say that this was parallelly under consideration along with the new series of notes. Now here what the note is revealing is very interesting. Apparently as early as October 2014, that is 2 years before demonetization, the Reserve Bank had advised that there should be 5,000 rupee and 10,000 rupee notes, which sounds a little strange because Rajan, if I remember right, was opposed to high denomination notes. And then on May 18th, the government advised the Reserve Bank to go ahead with that 2,000 rupee notes. Now you must remember May 18th is significant. May 18, 2016, almost 2 years later, 1.5 years later, the government is approving a much lower denomination of 2,000 rupee. May 18th, I'm saying significant because May 16th was the tirade of Subramanian Swamy against Raghuram Rajan, saying that he's an outsider and he's not Indian enough. He's not mentally Indian, remember? So was this a time when probably Rajan resisted it and therefore this tirade? Is just a doubt that occurred to me. But anyway, the Indian Express report doesn't get into that. It merely says on May 18th, the government approved of that new 2,000 rupee note and then finally gave approval for the new design on June 7th. The idea being that RBI note says that you could coincide the two. Anyway, since a new series of notes were being introduced, the delegalizing of the old notes could be coincided with it. The note goes on to say that it did tell the government that there will be a temporary mismatch as you pull out notes and replace them, but it said that it will have some stock of 2,000 rupee notes and it will have old 110 rupee notes and 50 rupee notes, and there will be a replacement of actual currency by electronic or digital transactions, and therefore it will be able to manage after a brief period of time. That is what the note appears to say. It's not a note we have seen. It's a note which the Indian Express has had access to. Now we must remember that on Jan 18th, the governor himself comes before the Veerappa Moily Committee on Finance, and I would assume at that time there will be cross-questioning as to how did the governor convince the board in just a day or in an hour that such a big decision ought to be taken, who were there in the board, why was the board not sufficiently staffed, why were there only 3 or 4 external members compared to 10 that the board normally has. I suppose all these questions would come up, and the preparedness of the Reserve Bank to delegalize so many notes. Why was the governor convinced that the preparation was enough? It will be an interesting conversation. One hopes we will have access someday to that conversation as well.